Hello again, everybody. It's Patrick. It's after work. It's about 4:45 in the evening on a Monday. And it's a Monday, but it doesn't feel like a Monday. When I come back to work, it's not like, oh my god, it's Monday, here's another work week. I'm actually excited to get back into it. It's the weekends that I'm having trouble with. The week is great. I heard some interesting news in our morning meeting today. I heard we're going to start trying to put together some kind of program specific to cardiac care, because apparently cardiac issues are resulting in a lot of readmissions to the hospital, which cuts into the hospital's reimbursement rates. And I learned an interesting fact in that meeting that about 50% of our patients have cancer and 50% have other things. But with the percentage of people who have like terminal heart diseases, we could increase that part of our census by a bit by focusing a little more on cardiac issues. So they asked around, at the table, who has cardiac experience, and I did not raise my hand, even though I do have a heart, in terms of like the muscular blood pump. But I've never been on a telemetry unit or anything like that, except for in school. So, but fortunately, there's a couple of nurses that do have that kind of experience, so that'll be very interesting for them to kind of develop a new kind of program, and they're going to have some MDs come and give us some additional training, and that should be pretty interesting to keep a group of people who tend to go back to the hospital more often than others, and to the challenge is to try to make it so they don't have to keep going back to the hospital. And like establishing protocols for diuretics and stuff like that. So it'll be pretty interesting to see how that evolves and develops. And it's really neat to see how fluid and how fluid everything is, and how rapidly it evolves to kind of meet the needs of our community, whatever they happen to be. It kind of reminds me a little bit of working at the retirement community, because we are expected to just magically become experts in whatever our patients happen to have at the time. But this agency that I'm working for now is a lot more organized, and that's a lot better for my blood pressure. And it's very interesting to see it all come together. I have some very, very smart people that I'm working for. And one of the other things that I like about it a lot is that since the hospice movement is relatively young, it started in the 60s or so, and by the fact that we can refer to it as a movement in healthcare, it's kind of interesting to think of myself as not just having a job, but being involved in a movement. I think that's a very interesting way to look at it that is very satisfying for me to think about. I'm a participant in a movement. I'm like a revolutionary somehow. So I'm definitely feeling more organized now. I'm getting the hang of scheduling. And then I discovered that this big sheet of paper that's on my desk, and has been on my desk for as long as I've had a desk, is actually a calendar. So I started looking at this calendar, and a month, like a little time has gone by since I took this desk over from somebody who's out on maternity leave. And it just occurred to me today that I can write things down on this calendar and like leave notes for myself about like what day certain things have to happen. So that's been like a big revolutionary shift. I was doing this in Outlook, because Outlook would automatically talk to our electronic medical record, but that feature got disabled, so now we can't do that anymore. But I'm definitely tending to drift back towards pen and paper methods of doing things. Like in the visit I just got back from right now, I didn't get really hardly any cell phone reception at all. The link seemed to be working, but my connection to the remote desktop was very slow. And it's not usually like that, but I just wasn't able to, I would have been there for like an hour just trying to enter data in. So I wisely packed myself a notebook, and I still had a notebook in my bag from the chest and abdomen assessment I did for school last week. So I just pulled it out and took notes down on that. And I'm definitely going to make sure I always have a notebook on me. I'm not going to be using it every day, because I'm going to try to do my charting at the bedside, but you never know when that notebook is going to come in handy. It's the one that I got at the catacombs, the municipal catacombs in Paris. So it's got It's a white notebook with a black skull and hearts where the eyes are. Maybe it's kind of a weird thing to be bringing out on a home visit, but it was really the only notebook I had left. So my sister got me a bunch of little notebooks for Christmas, but some of them were like pink. I'm not going to bring a pink notebook in. I'm definitely getting more enmeshed in a lot of the insurance and healthcare economics side of things. It's really hard to keep track of. I heard an interesting sentiment expressed by a couple of different nurses at the office that the patients that are on regular Medicare or on some kind of like private Medicare-like benefit are actually harder to deal with than the ones that are just on the hospice benefit, because we have to do a lot more detailed documenting, and we already have a lot of documenting to do, and we have to jump through a lot of hoops to get supplies that we know we need, but we have to, justify the acquisition of those supplies to various peoples and agencies and stuff. So there's sort of like not an emotional burden, but there's like an organizational burden on the minds of the nurses taking care of those people. I've only got like I think I only have one out of my 12 patients is in that situation, but some of the other nurses have like 5 or 6 people who are using that kind of payer source, and it can really duplicate and not just duplicate, it can like increase your paperwork tenfold. So I mean, a lot of the same problems I noticed when working in the nursing home are still the big problems. Like, how do you collect all the information? How do you make sure you don't miss anything and present the data in an easy to understand way? And then how do you put all the pieces together and actually use that data to inform whatever plan you're coming up with? And all the systems that we have in place for doing this are just really, really horrible compared to, like, say, the user interface in a video game or a social networking site, even like one of the crappier ones. They're all able to do this better than any company that actually puts out professional healthcare software. It all sort of looks and uses, I can't say plays because it's not a game, but it sort of operates like, I don't know, what's a good description, like, old HyperCard or FileMaker Pro stacks from, back in the early 90s or something. It's like they haven't really caught on to any of the user interface excuse me, user interface conventions that are just commonplace now, and in 2011, almost 2012 now, people in other fields have caught on to the fact that usability is important, and the easier these tools are to use, the more productive people will be, the more work that people will get done. And given that on average we spend over 50% of our time documenting, that seems like something that we should be able to cut down on with technology. I thought it would be really cool to have like some kind of like augmented reality glasses or something, but not for, I mean, you could display things to the user too, but the idea would be to see what the nurse sees and hear what the nurse hears. So while I'm, like, say if I'm looking at a wound, I can look at a wound and I can say that there's undermining 3 centimeters between 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock, and then I can describe the wound bed. But it would just make more sense to like record an image of the wound bed, right? Like, why not just take a picture of it? Or if I'm like assessing somebody and I could say to a microphone, oh, there's 2+ pitting edema on the left side and 1+ pitting edema on the right side, rather than going back into a record and typing that in later, the microphone should just be able to hear me say that and say, oh, okay, they've got 1+ pitting edema or blah blah blah. And then when you go file the report, the software could just like come back through and say, well, I didn't quite get this, what did you mean here? And then you'd have to like massage it a little bit afterwards and make some corrections, or add some additional info into it afterwards. But there's no reason there can't be like a live record of it, like kind of like live blogging, but live blogging with some more like image recognition and voice recognition features. Because it seems like so much of what we do is just duplicating things that we've already done. So I don't know. It seems like that could be streamlined a little bit, just from a purely like technological point of view. We have a bunch of new faces in the office this week. That's been really nice. Had some new per diems are starting. One of them that's starting on Wednesday is a good friend of mine that I went to school with, so I'm very excited to see her around the office. And yeah, I don't know. Everything's going really good. It was Monday was not a chore. Maybe after a couple of years of doing this, I'll feel differently about it. But I actually look forward to touching base with all the interesting people that I work with, and sort of learn something new and get my plan together for the week. And so it's been pretty good. Now it's almost 5 o'clock, and I don't think I'm going to do any homework today. I've got just a couple of small assignments due for Wednesday. Maybe I can work on them tomorrow. I really don't feel like it today. I picked up an extra visit late in the afternoon to help out because I only had 2 visits. But now that I'm done for the day, I really don't want to do any schoolwork. That's been a continual problem lately. Once these classes actually start getting difficult, I might have to work daily schoolwork into my routine. We'll see what happens. So far, I've only really needed to put in like 1 or 2 evenings worth of work. What else is going on? I can't really think of anything else right now. Looking forward to relaxing with a cup of coffee. Maybe eat some dinner. I'm going to Subway a lot lately. On the advice of my doctor, he's threatening to put me on anti-cholesterol medication. Of course, I can always just say no, but if I can't bring down my cholesterol otherwise, I would be hard-pressed to contradict him without sounding stubborn. Oh, we have a visitor. Yeah, that should be interesting. Well, until next time, I'll see you later.